How you doing?
I know. Who's this, Douglas?
It's just Doug.
Doug, what's happening, brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, man. This is so cool. It's so funny. Like, if people look up and down the movies you're in, like Last Man Standing, Next Karate Kid, which I'm sure with the hype of like Cobra Kai, how huge it is, people are
Yeah.
like going back, rediscovering this movie that has a ton of people in it when you really think about it.
Yeah.
But I knew you. We'll get into like how you got started and everything and where you grew up. But I just have to mention this right off the top. Was Showdown was like a
Sure.
movie that was, I don't know if it was UPN or where did you grow up?
I grew up in New York, in the Bronx, in Whitestone,
nice.
Queens. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. I'm a Jersey guy, so you know what I'm about to say. Like UPN, WPIX. It was one of those movies that was on it seemed like every Saturday because I saw
Really?
Showdown so many times as a kid.
Come on, I never knew that.
Yeah, it was on one of those channels, but I just always remember that movie because it was, they didn't even like hide it. They said it in the movie that they were like mocking Karate Kid.
Well, you know what's funny? I mean, are we on?
We're on. It's not live. I edited this out so we sound good.
Okay, so honestly, when I went for that audition, Doug, it was funny because they wanted me for the lead character. They kept bringing me back, right? And it was a funny story. I never knew. I didn't know that played on UPN at all.
Yeah, one of those local, because we had cable back in the day, but like it was on the illegal black box that my dad got, or it was, but I remember it being on either 9 or 11. Like I remember watching it on like those, which they don't even show anymore on those channels, like those Saturday afternoon movies. And I remember seeing that so many times because it seemed like right around that time that I was watching it is when Billy Blanks, like the fitness craze happened. And I'm like, dude, that's Billy Blanks.
Right. Because what happened was, like I was saying before my camera fell down, I had auditioned for it and they kept bringing me back for the lead character, and it was a funny story. I grabbed the actor in the middle of the audition. The guy who directed it was from Best of the Best, Robert Radler. Really nice guy. Yeah, he was great. And I forget the producer's name. He was really great too. He worked with Joel Silver later on, but Alan, I forget his last name. Anyway, I was in the audition and I was doing my audition and they started to laugh. And I was just really like, I was just really like edgy actor that just, my mom was very sick and I had a lot of stuff going on. And I just stopped the audition. I said, what are you laughing about? What's so funny? Like crazed, and they looked at me and they didn't know what to do. And I said, you know what? I'm done. I walked out. I walked down the hallway to the elevator, about to get in the elevator. He goes, no, wait. You're great. We love you. No. We've never heard the scene read like that. You just took us off by surprise. Anyway, cut and paste. They went with the exact, like you said, rip-off formula of Karate Kid, which was having a blonde guy fight a dark-haired guy. And they said, Michael, will you please? I said, all right, I'll do this part, but whatever. So, and then cut and paste a year later, I'm playing the lead role in the biggest franchise in the world. So, it's like, it's funny. It's just crazy. But a lot of people, Billy Blanks too. Billy was funny because I remember doing the scene, if you remember, in the gym.
Yeah.
So I said, Billy, do me a favor. I said, we're doing our own stunts. Make sure that you don't hit me in the in the groin region. He goes, no, don't worry about it. I won't hit you. Sure enough, the broomstick comes up and I'm like, oh man. But there's some amazing actors in that movie. Sadie Lopez, a wonderful actress, and Christine Taylor, and Ken, they're all really good. But Patrick Kilpatrick, who I went on to do another movie with, Last Man Standing. He was in Last Man Standing with me as well, and time's funny, man. It's just because I see the picture behind you, I'm laughing, man. It's like, wow.
Well, and you still look pretty good. You don't age that. You don't age that much.
Yeah, people say that to me all the time. Michael, you look like you're still from the Karate Kid, or you're still, it's funny. It's like, I try to take care of myself, and it's, Doug, what's funny about this whole thing? It's so bizarre. I mean, let's think about this. Next Karate Kid was 26, 27 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had no idea this was even happening. This reboot of Cobra Kai, I had no idea what was happening with it. And my wife says to me one day, she goes, honey, you got to look at this show. I'm like, what show? We talk about? She goes, Cobra Kai. I was like, what's that? I mean, I kind of knew the reference because it was the first movie, but I didn't really know them. I didn't really, you know. So she goes, you got to watch it. It's like a continuation, a remake of Karate Kid. I'm like, no way. Why would they do that? You know. Sure enough, I watched it. Oh, this is pretty good. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting calls from like all over the world. I'm getting calls from Spain, London, India, Pakistan, because now they're going back to watch all the beginning films. And it brought back so many wonderful memories. And obviously some other, you know, it was during a very tough time for me in my life back in 1994, 95. But it's so fascinating to me, like the love for this franchise and the love for these movies, and to hear people talk to me about my character many years later that I could never talk to. I didn't have Instagram. I wasn't even on Instagram. I don't even know what was going on with that. My wife got me on a year ago. I just started with this stuff, and people started to find me. And it's just fascinating that you can actually now talk to guys like you and have an experience that you would have never had 26 years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been a fascinating return to the roots and to the movies, and it's really wonderful. Actually, it's been really, really fun for me. So yeah,
that's awesome, man. Here, we're gonna start. I want to talk about like growing up. But one thing I have to mention, it's funny when I interviewed Patrick Kilpatrick, I think like back in October, but for some reason it didn't click when I saw Showdown that's the movie I watch. Because whenever I interview people, I'll like go up and down and I'll click on different movies and like check them out. For some odd reason, like when I interviewed Eric Roberts, who I interviewed for Best of the Best and Best of the Best Part 2, I was like, all right, I know this. I know those movies. But for some reason with Patrick, I didn't click. But rewatching that movie years later, God, he is such a nut in Showdown.
You know, like Patrick, calm down. And he talks with that voice, and you know, he's a character. He's a good guy.
He's a character. When I interviewed him,
he's a character.
His voice is like deeper than it was then, and it was like so gravelly, and just the way he was storied. I'm like, dude, this guy is great at what he does, obviously, but just insane in those roles. That opening scene at the party, like when his brother gets knocked over by Billy and somehow dies instantly. It's insane because he looks. I don't know how old he was then exactly. He looks like he should not have been at that party. Like not even close.
Well, that's the bizarre thing when you think about some of these movies. You know, people shouldn't even be in these movies. I don't know, how do they, you know, it's like, yeah, it was so bizarre. It's just so, you know, we're like 80 years old in a high school film. I'm like, what do we do? You know what I mean? But this is what they do. It's crazy, but fun times, man. Fun times.
So cool. Let's talk about the beginning. So you grew up in the Bronx, so I got my Yankee tattoo there.
Me too. I'm a big Yankee fan. Whitestone, Queens, and then I would go and spend a lot of time in the Bronx with my grandmother in Throgs Neck. So more, you know, I grew up in Whitestone, but I would go over the bridge. I went to school in the Bronx, high school there. You know, was a pretty good athlete. Very, very well known in the area. Played all sports. You know, I was very, very blessed in a lot of ways. Some tough times started happening, you know, when I was about 18, 19. My mom, like I said, and my father got sick and things happened there. So lost my mom, lost my dad. And then, about 11, 12 years ago, lost my sister. But back in the day, back in Whitestone, Queens, I was a pretty good athlete, captain of my high school football team, all city, all league, all that stuff. And played college football. I thought I had a shot to go pro, but then things got a little bit hectic. A broken ankle, ripped a hamstring. And I said, where am I going? You know what I mean? You start to realize it when you get to another level. You're like, wait a minute. I was usually better than most in everything. Then I was only just better than one guy in one thing, and he was killing me in everything else. And I said, you know what, let's be realistic. So
what school did you go to?
I went to CW Post in Division 1 AA. And played flanker back, tailback, broke some records there, and then I got hurt, and that was the end of that story. And then I started working on Wall Street, and when I got my degree, I said, okay, you know what, let's do what we got to do. And I started working on Wall Street at night. I was doing like night shifts. And I met this gentleman on the train sitting next to me, and he says, you got a great look. And he's talking to me, and I think, who is this guy talking to? This crazy man. And he's like, you look like Ken Wall from Wise Guy. You got a great look.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's a good compliment.
Right. So I said, oh, thank you very much, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, here, take my card. So he gives me his card. I'm looking at it, and then he leaves. I'm like, checked it out. So, this guy's supposedly looks like a pretty big, J. Michael Bloom. So a few weeks later, I was like really disillusioned working on Wall Street. I'm like, I don't want to be here, And I gave him a call. And he brought me into the office, and he's sitting behind his desk, and he slides this paper across to me, and he goes, read this. I'm like, read what? He goes, read this scene. And I'm like, how? He goes, just read it. So I read it, and then he stopped me. He goes, listen, you're pretty good. You're a natural. And, I went out on an audition maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, and I got a small part as a bad boy on a soap opera for a couple of days. And then he goes, listen, I'm moving to California. And I had nothing going on, man. I didn't want to work on Wall Street. It was cold. It was January. I was like, you know what? I'm out. And we headed west, and maybe like 2 months later, he got together with another lady to manage me a little bit, and then he came back to New York to kind of square away some stuff, and I got a movie called Book of Love for New Line Cinema. And another thing, I was up for the lead, and I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to get through it, and they kept bringing me back, and we ended up in a nice part in that film with a lot of known actors and
Chris Young, directed
Keith
by
Coogan.
Bob. Yeah, Bob Shea directed it, and he didn't direct much. He was more.
That was
just
the only
like
one.
Yeah,
that was the only one. And remember now, it's funny that you say that because Robert Shea was like the owner of New Line Cinema, if you remember. Yeah. So I remember, my mom was getting sick at the time, Doug, and I remember going up to Mr. Shea's house. It was like not in Beverly Hills, but like going over the canyon. I think it was over Coldwater Canyon. You would go up, and he would drive up this hill, and we had a get-together, a cast get-together. And I remember going there, and then I parked my little shitty car, beat-up car, and I walked down, and like it overlooked all the valleys. Like, wow, is this how it's going to be? I mean, this is how it happens. So, cut and paste. I shot that for about maybe 5 or 6 weeks. And I remember I was having such a wonderful time. And my mom was supposed to come out, but unfortunately she could not come because she was in chemo, this and that. And then we finished the movie. And then I said, this is going to be easy, right? This is it. I got pretty much my first audition and 2 auditions. This is going to be simple. Again, fighting for the lead that I didn't even know what I'm doing. And boy, it got really difficult after that. She passed away. So I left the business for a while. And went back to New York. I had to take care of her for a while, and then she passed on and did some family stuff. And I said, let me try to get back. And I tried to come back and try to reboot the career. And then I ended up doing this Showdown.
So did you have, again, you're an athlete, and it's cool to find out, because without talking to people, you really don't know, was this guy training to be an actor? No, there's some guy in the train said, hey, you have this look. Did you have a karate background, or was it just that you're an athlete?
I think I always boxed. I boxed in high school.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty good with my hands. So that was a very good foundation for what I needed. And then I got into kickboxing, but not I wasn't at a high level, but I was able to hang with all these guys and not even training in that way, which was fascinating because I was with the athleticism plus the hands. I was able to do anything that these guys could do pretty much. So then I got into it a little bit more, and I started working on it. Then one of the funny questions was when I went into audition for the Karate Kid. I remember meeting the casting director, and she says to me, she goes, you look like you're in shape. Da, 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 da. She goes, you're athletic. I said, yeah. And then when I got the part, I met Mr. Pat Johnson, who was the stunt coordinator, and I did all the moves, no problem. I did all my stunts and started studying with him. I studied with him for about 2 years. Even after when the movie was over, I worked with him and went on to kickbox and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the athleticism laid a foundation for me to actually be at that level without even training. And I don't mean to disrespect it. I mean that my flexibility wasn't nearly as good as theirs, but hand speed, and I was able to move pretty well. And my kicks were pretty good, pretty forceful. So I picked it up quicker, I think. So being an athlete helps, trust me. It makes you look good on screen. Even if you're not great in the art, I look believable in a lot of the stuff. So it's fascinating, you know?
Yeah, that's all you need. Like I interviewed a guy that obviously I'm not saying you should be older, but if you were 10 years younger starting the business, you probably would have been like that guy in the Canon film era. I interviewed Sam Furstenberg, who did like the American Ninja movies. And
Sure, I know him.
so that was that. They were like, we really don't want people that have karate because they might, in some cases, like cost more because they might have experience.
Exactly.
So like they would look for an athlete and can he do the moves enough? And no, that's perfect. That worked out for you. And then it's cool that you did like Showdown. And then
by the way, I did a Canon film. You know that, right?
No, which one?
I did a movie with Leslie Ann Down and Michael Parks called Inside Out. I don't even know if it's listed anymore.
I don't think it's on your IMDb.
It may be. I played a young cop. It was really funny. I'll tell you a funny story about that. This is how bad I was as an actor. I remember going down. That was probably maybe my second job. Yeah, maybe my third job. And I got cast as a young cop. And I remember we went down to Corpus Christi, Texas. And I was playing Michael Parks' young partner. And, you know, I'm nervous. And you know, we're doing a scene like this, sitting down at the couch. And there's like 5 actors in the scene. And I got some dialogue, and, you know, Leslie Ann Down, you know, they've been in the business for years, and here's a young kid, you know, and it's like really hot. It's like 130 degrees. I'm in a suit and tie, and they go, you know, you're doing your dialogue, and they're in the scene, and all of a sudden it comes to my dialogue, and I can't say it, and I'm like, and they go like, cut, Michael, what happened? I said, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Did it again? Forgot it again, and I'm starting now to pour, Doug, I'm pouring sweat, and I'm like. Finally, after like 4 or 5 takes, I finally remembered the dialogue, and I never in my life ever dropped a line again. But that was an experience to work with Michael Parks, which was, he's a character for sure. And Leslie was great. And that was a Canon film. Yeah, it was funny. And I don't know where that is. It's somewhere. I might not have it on I might have took it off.
Yeah, that's the end of Canon. Like the way they, I just watched The Last Blockbuster last night. Really good documentary. It just came on Netflix. But when I was talking to Sam, because he actually knew the guy that owned Canon, he told me like some really cool stories, but that's right at the end of it. Like 90. Yeah.
Our movie probably threw it off the edge. It was a terrible movie, but you know, you got to work, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Leslie's great too. I interviewed her husband, who's like a cinematographer, and
yeah,
really,
she's a nice lady. Very nice lady. Beautiful lady. Very, very sweet. Yeah.
She was in the Pink Panther movies, and
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
So how did like the next Karate Kid, we talked about the audition that they were like, hey, you're athletic enough, you know, talk to Bill Johnson. How did that come up?
Pat Johnson.
Oh yeah. Pat Johnson. Yeah. So how did that come up after Showdown? Like,
so what happened
reach out or?
Yeah. So what happened was I was like toiling, you know, after my mother died, my father got sick. So I was bouncing back and forth to New York. You know, I got a job here, I got a job there. I'm like, you know, I'm trying to get my career going, you know, it was very difficult. Yeah. And I ended up signing with this really, really cool guy, Steven Adams, a small manager. And I remember I was working out at the gym. I was working out at Gold's Gym in North Hollywood. No, actually in Hollywood. And I heard my name on the loudspeaker. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I said, either my father died and they're tracking me down, my roommate, or something. So I ran to the phone and it was him. He's like, listen, you got to get over to Warner Brothers. You got an audition for this movie, but and it was like no name or anything. He was just go over, wear jeans, t-shirt, and a leather jacket. So I went. Walked in and met the casting director, Joy Todd, who was a very, very powerful casting director from New York. And she was here in LA, which was cool. So I think she kind of got the vibe of a New Yorker coming in. And like I said, she said to me, you look athletic, So she called me back a week later and I did the reading again. And then about 2 weeks later, they called me again and they had like 3 or 4 people there. Producers, directors, Jerry Weintraub was in the room. Chris Kane was in the room. And I did my audition and I thought it went fairly well, but I didn't hear anything. So I said, oh, all right. And then they called and they said, listen, we love Michael. We want to bring him back in again and pair him up with a couple of girls and a couple of guys. And I've been through this with Showdown. I was through this with Book of Love. So I kind of was getting the idea of what this was going to be like. So I said, oh, here we go again. So I went back. They did all the pairing. We did all the auditions. That was it. Didn't hear anything. And then a week later, they called me back one more time. And I remember sitting on the steps at this little bungalow at Warner Brothers, and next to the same guy that was auditioning against me. And I always tell this story because it's really fascinating. Like, it's in my head. I'm like, is this my shot? This is my shot. This is it. And I'm thinking he's probably thinking the same thing. You know what I mean? And we're not more than like this far apart from each other, not looking at each other. So it's a very difficult thing to do. You know, it's a difficult thing. And you know, listen, I don't want bad for anybody. I just want a job, for God's sakes. I'm desperate here. Help me out. Give me a job. So I go in first and I do my thing. And they're like, great, Michael, wait outside. I wait outside. He goes in. And I'll never forget this. I tell this in all the interviews. He walked out with his shirt off and just a tank top on. And I said, you know what? This job is mine. So I hear my name, Michael. And I'm like, oh my God, did I not get this? So I start walking down this hallway, Doug, and the hallway seemed like it was about 5,000 yards. And it was like maybe 50 steps. And it's going, wah, wah, wah. I'm like, oh my God. So I get to the office and Jerry's sitting there with his feet up on the desk and Chris is sitting, standing next to him. And he goes, sit down, kid. I'm like, all right. He goes, so where are you from? I said, well, New York. He goes, He goes, who's your agent? I tell him my agent. He goes, you got the job, kid. I literally, honestly, I jumped over the desk and grabbed him and started crying. Like, seriously, had him in a bear, crying, hysterical crying.
Wow.
And then I grabbed Chris Kane crying because, I lost my mom. My dad was sick. And I'm like bawling. They probably looked at this guy and looked at me and said, what's wrong with this kid? But cut and paste a little bit, later they found out that my dad was very ill. And they said to me, Michael, if you ever need anything, you go home and spend time with your father. Then we'll get you back here. So I was bawling, hugging them, this and that. And then I remember leaving and seeing this other actor walking away. And I felt like, wow, I've been there so many times in my career when I didn't get that part. And I felt bad. I felt compassion for him. And I understood his feeling. But I realized, you know what? Every once in a while, one's got to come your way, right? So I think my mother might have sprinkled a little love dust on me. And I got lucky. And I remember driving over Cahuenga Boulevard near the studios. And I was bawling. And I pulled over and I said, Mom, we made it. We made it. I can't believe it. And I was living pretty much from hand to mouth. I'm living in like a one-room apartment. I got a beat up car with dog hair flying everywhere. It was tough. It was tough. And I became part of Hollywood lore. And I became, and it's also about confidence. And you feel like you belong. You earn the right to have a conversation with you. You earn the right to be able to say, hey, man, all the hard work paid off. So, plus the financial was very nice too. But yeah, man, that was the day. I'll never forget it. And it brings me back to some really, really surreal moments that are, like I said, some really happy moments that are balanced out with some really sad moments, because knowing that your mom's not there and your dad's ill, but you got this great thing in your life. So it kind of pulled me up a little bit from that and helped me lift me up a little bit from my bootstraps. But I'm very blessed, and I'm very grateful, and I don't take anything lightly. And people always ask me this question, Michael, how does it feel to be in the franchise? And then how does it feel to get your ass kicked by a girl? So I smile. And initially in my career, I really didn't really care too much about this. I cared I did the movie at the time, but as I got past it, I was trying to do like serious roles and independent films. I've done a lot of independent films that are really tremendous, that are like a lot of festival films. So I got lost in the shuffle of all this world of commercial films. So I remember trying to kind of run away in a little way, not run away at the time, but after. And so when they asked that question, I say, listen, how does it feel to get my ass kicked by a 2-time Academy Award-winning actress, Hilary Swank? Feels pretty good. How does it feel to be in a movie that's been around for 30 or 40 years? Pretty good. How does it feel to be the leading character, that the bad boy, in one of the biggest franchises in the world? How does it feel? Pretty good. So how's your bank book? Not bad from this. So I answer those questions and they look at me and they laugh. So that's the reality, you know? Very lucky. Very lucky.
And it's a cool movie when you think about who's in it. Like Walter Goggins.
Sure.
That must have been.
Well, I didn't want to say, but that was the guy that was next to me.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, so at least he still got in the movie.
Yeah, he called and got in the movie. And Walter and I actually were friends for a long time. After, and then, things happen, like my stuff and his stuff. He got busy. He's working. God bless. He's doing very well. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
And then I got busy with my life. So we kind of have lost touch, but that was the guy. And then, of course, you had Hillary and Michael Ironside and some amazing actresses, Constance Towers, Chris Conrad. We have a great cast. So I would say,
man. When you think about the villains in the series, obviously you have Martin Cove, like legendary, Terry Silver, played by Thomas Ian Griffith, then Sean Kanan, and you think about Ned, and you think about, the Colonel, like the way he plays that. When you really watch the movie in a different light, you think of that guy, you're like, man, he probably has some serious PTSD because he's insane.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny about, how do I say this? It's very difficult sometimes because people always try to compare the villains and try to talk about the villains. And I can honestly say, from my heart, I think that we're really terrific. And I believe that in some instances, things could be caricaturish. I believe that, when I got the part, I said, let me go back to the first Karate Kid and see what it's about. And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought that was the best of the franchise, without question. And I looked at the archetypal bad guy there, and I said, okay, this is my part in this movie, but how do I make it a little different? How do I get to a little nuance in it? And what's really fascinating is that a lot of people caught on to that and got it at the end of the movie when they saw me change and had a little moment at the end where he says, no, I'm not doing it. No. And none of those other characters got there.
No.
None of them got there. So it's really funny because I think that's where Ned gets his balance right in that moment. That's the whole movie for him, is that he gets the balance to realize that, no, this guy's no good. He was a kid that was lost with no family, and he found, he fell under the tutelage of this crazy guy, and he followed him. And then he realized that he wasn't, I don't necessarily know if he was trying to hurt Julie. I think he was testing her to the highest point. And then when she stood up to him, he respected her. And I think that's where it happened for me, is like, and you realize, wow, this kid pushes him away. And people often ask me, Michael, that's a great nuance for this character because the other characters don't have it. So they mention that quite frequently to me when they write to me. You had that moment at the end. Could Ned go with Miyagi's dough, or and I believe he does. I believe he follows Miyagi, and I believe he ends up in life befriending Julie because you grow up and you things change and life changes. And so, but getting back to that, I believe Michael and I are really, really strong together. And I feel, I don't want to say who's the best, who's not, but let's say that I think that we're a very formidable duo. Yeah. And I think that the actors in our film are very, very, very good. And I'm very proud to have worked with them, all of them. And Hillary was, wow, to think about the pressure, this young girl has on her shoulders, to carry a franchise.
Yeah.
And to continue a franchise that was such a massive hit. She was tremendous and very graceful and very, very. She worked really hard, and she was Me Too before there was Me Too in this world.
Yeah.
She was fighting a bully idiot like me, and and defending her honor and doing the things that she needed to do before there were women action heroes. So she was the first. So I think in that respect, our film was way ahead of any other film. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and just the fact that you're like when you catch her and you basically say she was smoking cigarettes and just like saying like, "Hey, why don't we go?" and kind of like, what's the makeout spot? I can't think of the name of it. Under the bridge or something. Yeah, the docks. Just that whole line. But I think you're, like you said, a caricature, and I think that's why I love movie sequels, because if you look at any original film, you have like all the villains, but the next one you have to be. It becomes a caricature of a bad guy. So even like the lines you say, is that something would high school kids be smashing in cars or burning them?
I don't know if they, I think that was a little bit bizarre, the burning. I was a little bit overwhelmed by that, but if you look at today, what's going on today, is it crazy? Because people are killing, shooting people.
No, I know.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think so. I think listen, when I got the part, I thought I was fighting Ralph. What did I know? I had no idea it was a girl until
really
3 weeks. Yeah, I had no idea. I thought she was the girlfriend. I was trying to hit on her, and she was with him.
Was that your read? Was that the scene you were reading when you kept going back? Was it anything that?
No, the scene was when I grab her like that.
Yeah.
That's the scene only scene that I read.
Wow.
So I didn't have the idea. I thought she was the girlfriend of Ralph or the girlfriend of the star of it or whatever. And then when I found out, I think at the read through, maybe I knew the rest of it, or maybe it was there and I didn't realize it. I don't know. But, listen, it's even today when I watch Cobra Kai, I find it, I think that one of the things that I miss from the originality of Karate Kid is the essence of the actual importance of the spirituality of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Mr. Miyagi was so beautiful at and delivered it without any violence. And I think that one of the things that I think they don't see as much in the Cobra Kai is not that for me. But, I just love the fact that the originals are rooted to that discipline of being, nonviolence, whatever. I mean, these guys are flipping over cars and jumping off walls. And I'm like, wait a minute, how does that happen? Like, how long have you been studying the martial arts? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe I'm out of touch, I'm sure, because I don't know what the nuances of today's karate are. But for me personally, I like the spiritual side. I like what's really great about Miyagi and how he hangs over Cobra Kai. I think that's fascinating. And Ralph being a little bit, lost, and Billy, I really enjoy that. I think they're doing a great job with that. But Mr. Miyagi is very special. I think as good as it is, it's not, for me, it's not, no matter what it is, it'll never be him. You know what I mean? As great as he's there no matter what. He's just so beautiful and important, so, to work with him is to work with a legend, an icon. And I can remember at the end of the film, Doug, we were shooting the last scene in the docks, and the car, we're going to blow the car up. And I remember I got there early and the big cans were on fire. And I was just sitting in that big, beautiful Jeep, and I'm looking out to I think it was the St. Charles River. And I'm like, wow, I'm one of the luckiest actors in Hollywood, one of the young, lucky actors. And I'm in this franchise that's incredibly successful and big. And I was trying to take it all in, and try to really, really digest what experience I was having. Because if you think about it, it's really pretty cool. So I remember we did the scene, and then a few months later, we had to reshoot the scene, and we had to reshoot it in Los Angeles. And I remember we did the scene, and they cut, and I got a little teary in the scene. And Pat called me over behind the camera, called me over. He said, "Michael, come over." And I walked over. He said, "Listen, He goes, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It's great. And I looked at him and I said, wow. I said, and he goes, do it. Just do it. And that was the moment where he became a nuanced guy. And I felt like it freed up the character to say, there's a little change here, a little change. So he was really like a leader in that way, very supportive and funny on set, and just was, he's a special guy, you know, and to have those memories, to be standing with him is incredible. And I think that there is no Karate Kid, there is no Cobra Kai without Mr. Miyagi. There is nothing. He makes it beautiful.
Yeah, and he has one of the best. He has so many great lines from the franchise, but one of the coolest ones is what he says to Hilary Swank after he beats. I'm trying to think when he beats you. It's towards like the third, in the beginning of the third act, and he says, I always say avoid fighting at all costs, but if you must, win. And I'm like, that's so cool, man.
That's classic. That's classic, right? It's that's what I'm saying. And the way he delivers it, it's like it hits you. It's like the other one, ambition without knowledge is like a boat on dry land. I'm like, wow, that's deep. You know, you don't realize it then, Doug, you know, but then you think back, you're like, whoa, that's some deep stuff that he threw out. So, listen, it's a joy. I mean, I had to talk to somebody today, and one of the kids, you know, they called me from Argentina. It was really fascinating. Like, we want cool. We want Ned Randall back. I have a lot of fans in Colombia. We want Ned. And they started, you know, saying physically you're the whatever, and you well built, and you were the guy, and da da da. And I was like, wow, you know, they must be just getting that movie. They must be getting that piece because they're starting to see it. I think we just got released here in the third one on Netflix, ours.
Nice.
Here.
I have it right here. Look at this.
Hey, there you go. Am I on the back cover? I better be. And
yeah, then, you are.
Yeah, there he is. There's the kid. All right, there. That shot is everywhere. Dude. Oh my! It marred my life, that shot. But the conversations were just. It was a great conversation, and you know what I find too. Kind of like you, they're defending it now. A lot of people are like, you know, this movie's really good.
Yeah.
The first one is great. The second one's okay. The third one's okay. You know, but I think ours is equally as good as the third or better. And you know, it's not the first. The first one's always going to be the classic.
Yeah.
And I think it stands on its own. I think a lot of times when I talk to the kids and I talk to people and I say, listen, I understand that people have opinions. I get it. And you know what? If you don't like a movie, that's great. Don't worry. I respect that. But what I don't respect and I don't agree with is that you talk bad about the actors in the piece.
Yeah.
Because it's disrespectful, because they gave everything they can. They did the best they could. They worked hard. It may not happen. It may not have come out the way that they intended or the movie wasn't as good as this, but just be respectful and then you can say whatever you want. So now I see the young fans like, no, this movie's really good and Ned is fantastic and Hillary's great and we need them back and da-da-da. So we'll see.
I think the people that trash things are like those. I hate talking, you know, I'm 34. I don't want to talk like my wife teaches 7th grade English in Jersey. Right. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about young kids, but there's like so many haters. And I think people do it. I think it's like in sports when they're like, so-and-so's the worst quarterback in the league. It's like, dude, the guy's pretty good. He's not the worst quarterback, but it's like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. They try to like get like the light on them, but no, I love all movies. And to talk about like the characterization of how sequels change, just think about the third movie, really. Like we just said about like the car exploding and everything. In the third movie, it's grown men trying to like kill, like injure a 19-year-old kid, because somehow that movie is a year after the second one, which came out 4 years. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I personally, for me, I don't know. That to me is much more over the top.
Oh, Terry Silver is a guy that I love his character, like Thomas Ian Griffith, the way he plays it, but he is a guy that is like, seems like the richest guy in town. And he talks about like dumping nuclear waste. And then he says, clear my schedule for 2 weeks. I got to hurt this kid. It's crazy.
And they all team up on the kid, and the other guy, the other bad guy, is like screaming, and I'm like, okay, all right, great. But getting back to the villains, so I say that's what is fascinating about what people are saying to me now. Michael, we love you. It's really nice to hear that they love.
That's
I love
awesome.
my character, and they sent me a picture. Me against the other villains that were there, like physically me against them, and it was really interesting what they had to say, and I thought it was fascinating. I said, okay, and they're trying to stir the pot, like, would you take
Nice.
on this guy? Listen, I'll take on anybody. I don't care. Put me in the street next to any of those guys.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also what I say is, look at the young guys that are in Cobra Kai. And look at me when I was at their age.
Oh, I know. I know.
So, I mean, here we are. So, that's what I'm saying. So I laugh because in one sense, unfortunately, I only got a chance to deal with Hillary, even though I did beat up, Eric and I got into, you see my prowess.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be interesting? And people always say it to me, Michael, you should fight this guy. Ned should fight this guy. Like, who would you see me fighting and how you think I would do? I'll ask you that question.
I think you could beat Karate's bad boy because I don't know, you just had this prowess about it. Obviously, Marty Cove, the way he trained everyone, but no, the Colonel, man, he was like really asking you guys to pick up a guy that was beaten and just beat him again. And another, like a student in his school. And no, that'd be cool to see you in it. And I'm sure you Google sometimes, or people send you articles or tag you in
All
them.
the time.
But it's so cool that I didn't watch. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch Cobra Kai when it was on YouTube, but when it got picked up by Netflix, so somebody told me, so somebody told me to check it out. And I'm like, just the way they did it is like really cool because you're like rooting for the bad guy. But I think why not have you come back, have Hillary, even in a cameo role or something, because that's what the fans would love.
That's what I think. It's funny. I got just yesterday, somebody sent me a big 3-page article on me on Screen Rant, and has my picture with Terry Silver and somebody else. Ned should be in it. Ned's going to be back. And then I get a thing a couple of weeks ago in Den of the Geek. He's going to return. Then I'm in GQ Mexico. Ned is going to be turning, and with this other character, I'm like, all right. So listen, I agree with you. I think it would be really fun, and I would be honored and privileged to be in a cameo or a one-shot deal would be great. Yeah. But I think it would be great for the fans and the franchise to have everyone together, maybe in one sequence that are honoring Mr. Miyagi. You see them all intermingling and meeting each other, like almost like the Marvel Universe and all that stuff. Stuff like that would be cool. So I get calls, and people are disappointed. Michael, are you on this season? I said, guys, I'm out of touch. I don't know. All I know is I keep seeing my name being brought up and photos being sent to me that I'm in this, and this. So, it would be an honor and privilege, either way. I'm grateful to have been considered, and if they're going to consider me down the line, it'd be great. I think I'm a great addition. I think I would bring a lot of intensity and a lot of athleticism and a lot of stuff with me. So we'll see.
Yeah. Have you still been since that? Are you still kickboxing? I know obviously you're still in shape, but are you still doing any of that karate, kickboxing?
I'm not kickboxing, but I'm in shape. I'm still pretty good. I can move. I can do my thing. So you never know. If they call, you got to be ready, right?
Yeah.
You got to be
ready. So after that, you're talking about like that was the commercial film, and then you went, you're doing a lot of the independent circuit. So you've done a lot of them, but one that really like caught my eye, and sometimes I randomly like check out some of them, but Pretty When You Cry.
Wow.
That movie and the cast, Jamie Kennedy in a role like that.
It was bizarre. It was bizarre. That was bizarre. That was a really difficult role for me, with Sam Elliott, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was really difficult. Keith David, I played a crazy, coked up guy. It's difficult sometimes because when you're an actor, it's hard to, you have to be realistic in an unrealistic situation. So you have to try as best as you can, and you have to have a teammate to play on that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you run against cast members or actresses or actors that aren't willing to do that, it's difficult. So,
I bet.
yeah, it was a difficult experience, an interesting movie, a difficult experience, to be quite honest. But it was amazing to work with Sam and Jamie and them. And Jamie was funny. We had some good scenes together. And, you know, and then craziness happens. And the independent world is really fascinating because you can pursue things that you might not get a chance at in these commercial films. So that's why I chose that route. And really what I try to do now is a lot of the films that I've done in the last 10, 12 years have been like based on family dramas or something, a positive portrayal of not Italian American, Sicilian American roots or something like that. That I'm driven to character stories. You know, I love action as well. I've done a few, but I really like old school character stories. So that's what I've been focusing on now. And this is my film Ritornato.
Oh, nice.
That is my film that's be coming out in about 4 or 5 weeks. That I won a grant from the National Italian American Foundation, the Russo brothers from the Avengers Marvel series. Yeah, they gave me a grant to shoot my film. So that was pretty prestigious. So I'm really lucky. And we won a lot of film festivals, and it's based on a true story of me going to Sicily to find my roots. And it's a really beautiful story, a very, very family-driven story. You know, I'm not into the Italian-American stereotypical stories. That's not. I turned down a lot of parts in my career, not because I didn't want to play those parts. I really didn't want to do it. I got to a certain point in my career, Doug, I was like, you know, I don't want to do this anymore because they're only allowing you to do the same part over and over again. It's like, I don't want to do that. So I started to write, and I wrote this movie. I have a full-length feature that I have with it that I'm trying to get off the ground. So I'm very proud of it. I went back to Sicily. I shot it all on location in Sicily. With non-actors, just the people from the town. And it's a beautiful homage to my mom and to my grandfather. And I promised my ancestral town, Limina, that I would do this, and I did it. And we've gotten a lot of nice compliments. You know, it's like I said, it's not an action movie. It's a character story.
Yeah.
But it's very honest, very passionate. We did it in 4.5, maybe 5 days for less than $8,000, whatever the grant was they gave me. Yeah. So by the time I got to Sicily, the grant money was gone. So it was coming out of my pocket. But that's kind of what I've been doing now. And I've got like 3 or 4 scripts that are done that I've written since.
When did you start writing?
Well, honestly, I started writing about 15 years ago, and
nice.
About 11 years ago when my sister passed away, I just, you know, I was like, I was lost. I gotta be honest, I was lost. I mean, I lost mom, my dad. And I'm like, you know what? I gotta go back to my roots. So my wife, who was my fiance at the time, we took a journey back to Sicily, and that's when the story started in my head.
Nice.
Because I had written something 15 years ago I wanted to do as a one-man show, you know, one-act show, you know, with me as the character, some of the characters. And I started it in this book called The Artist's Way, and I started to write it. And then when I made my journey to Sicily, I came back and I was looking for that book. I couldn't find it. So I bought another one and I started writing. And then a few months later, I found the book. And exactly what I was writing present day was the same as what I wrote 15 years earlier.
Wow.
Crazy, right? So
yeah,
I went on that journey, and I wrote. And a friend of mine says, listen, he goes, have you ever written before? I said, no. He goes, I sent him the script. He goes, this is pretty good. He goes, it needs a lot of work with the structure, but it's got a lot of heart and soul. So, you know, I continued to write, and then somebody told me about this grant that they do, and I kind of constructed it in a smaller way, and I sent it in, and I won. It's like, wow. So there I was, and I said, okay, here we are. And I shot the film and had the greatest experience of my life. And I'm so blessed, and I'm so grateful, and the people back in Limina, Santa Teresa, my friends, And then we're going to go back and do a second one. And I've written another one that we're going to shoot in Sicily. So I've been very, very, now I'm very, very connected into the culture there in the town. I'm the town ambassador for Limina, which is really wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm on the cultural department of Sicily. So I felt like, Doug, you know what? I felt like I don't want to sell out my culture. I don't want to sell out my soul to be a guy that's stereotypical. Yeah, I don't want to be disrespectful for anybody, but for me, it just doesn't work. And that's not the way. And it's not about, I don't care about the money. Who cares? It's the love of the game and what you want to feel good and passionate and proud of what you're doing. And for me, that's where I'm at right now. So I continue to go on that journey. And if Cobra Kai comes up and it brings me back to the mainstream, that would be great because it's so fascinating because that happened when I had the success of Ritornato. And it's all coming together at one time with my past with a commercial film and this little film that I did. All the fans are really helping me and getting behind me and say, Michael, we really want to support your film and we love you. Cool. And so the young ones and the older ones, it's been really, I feel really, really like blessed that people would even write to me or want to talk to me. It's just like, it's incredible that it's like when guys like you and have kids like me, he goes, I grew up with you, Michael. I'm like, really? I mean, wow. You don't realize that, you don't realize the people you're touching. You're just trying to do your best. You know what I mean? And I met a kid from Florence who wrote to me, goes, Michael, I work out and I wanted to have a body like you. And I thought you were a great role model physically. I was like, wow, I'm so like thrilled. And then a lot of my fans, they write me, I'll talk to them. I'll spend some time.
Cool.
I'll spend 10, 12 minutes. I write back. And I've actually established really, really wonderful relationships with them because, guys, we're just people. We're not like these people that deserve more or less than anybody else. I'm just a person like you, and I'm thrilled and honored that we can sit and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Us actors sometimes start to get a little bit crazy. They think we're a little bit more than what we are, and we're not. I just want to be like you and be, have a conversation and relate to you and see how your day's going. You know what I mean? So that's what it's been for me. It's been wonderful.
So did you ever have the opportunity to do any of those like conventions for being Ned? You did. Okay.
Yeah. So that's, it's funny you say that. Somebody said that to me yesterday. He goes, Michael, you got to be doing these conventions again. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, because you don't understand what's going on. I said, I don't know. I remember I did it when I did the movie. I went, all over the world, not all over the US.
Yeah.
I did a lot of conventions and car shows and stuff. That was great. But he brought it up to me yesterday. He goes, you should be doing some of these shows. I said, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to start that again. I don't know where that goes, but maybe I probably should investigate that, I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, so I'm saying you did it back then, but you haven't done it recently, right?
No, I haven't done it recently.
That's what I mean, because obviously with the world being standstill, everybody watched Cobra Kai, like you said, and then they had Next Karate Kid gets put on. Everybody goes to watch it. Dude, I'm telling you, for a movie like that, and I'm sure somebody will be reaching out to you for like those festivals or even like the online things, because those things are cool. And like, did you ever do stage stuff? Like theater?
What do you mean? Oh yeah, I did theater in New York.
Okay.
And I did, yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, that was why I wanted to do the one act show.
Okay.
On the stage. I think I was either not brave enough or not ready enough. I don't know why it didn't happen. It just wasn't time. So I'm contemplating that again. It's funny because today I was researching some stuff that maybe I could shoot this downtown LA because I'm in LA and this other piece that I wrote is in New York. So, I continue to think how I want to pursue the stories that I've written, and a lot of the fans have reached out to me like with stuff that they would like me to do, like a movie or direct, because I directed this film. I got nominated for Best Director at the Short Film Festival in London. Won Best Film at the Remini World Fest in Houston. So it's crazy. So, I would love to do some of that stuff. So if you know anybody, let me know. I'll go to Comic-Con or whatever they call that thing, or go out to a convention. I'd love to do it. Be fun.
No, the reason I mention that because given your background, like playing sports, being an athlete, you're used to that instant gratification. So obviously when you score a touchdown, great play,
Yeah.
the crowd goes wild. But when you do a movie, like I've interviewed people, that's why I asked if you ever did those conventions recently, because
Sure.
obviously you're a great guy, like contacting fans back that reach out to you. But there's some people that don't really get that, but there are people that love them. Like I interviewed this guy he was in a bunch of movies and stuff, but his big thing, he was the voice of Beast on X-Men, the animated series. So I was lucky enough when I interviewed him, I asked him, hey, did you ever go to those Comic Cons? Because he talked about when he would do a movie, that's it. The movie's done.
Yeah.
Unless you sit in the back of the movie theater for a week, you don't know how people really are reacting. So it's cool that you're getting those emails because you're getting that, hey, you know what we did was,
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. So 26 years ago, we didn't have social media, Instagram. So now you get an instant email. I saw you're the guy. Are you the guy? Are you Ned? Because they don't know, because I don't have my name on my website. It's Ritornato on Instagram. It's Ritornato_the_movie_.
Yeah.
My name is not there. I have my name on Facebook, but I don't have that on my Instagram. So they don't know if it's me or not. So they write to me and you have to accept a thing. And I read it first because I get some crazy ones. I read it, so I can accept this. And then I write back, yes, this is him. Oh my God. Like the other day, a guy sent me something. He's like, he shared something, me against one of the bad guys. And he goes, you should take him on. I said, okay. And I accepted it. He's like, oh my God, that's you. I said, yeah. And then I shared it. He went berserk. So it's funny. So, cool. That's a fun thing. It's a fun thing for me. So
crazy, that's man. So cool that you can see that, because that guy that was the voice of Beast, he went to that Comic-Con. It was like a reunion of all the people that are voice actors from that. And he didn't even, like, in his head, he was like, I don't know if people watched it. He goes, I went to a studio. He was living near Toronto. I did my voice, send the tape in. So he wasn't even with a lot of the actors for it.
Right.
He just loved his voice for it. Yeah.
It's a little difficult. Like with my film Ritornato, we were supposed to be in Italy at the Taormina Film Festival, which is a very prestigious film festival, and we couldn't go. I was supposed to be in St. Louis. I was supposed to be in Chicago. I came to New York, actually, and we were able to do 2 screenings in New York, but at a festival. But then after that, I was shut down. So you really can't. What do you do, right? So now we're going to put it on my on ritornatothemovie.com is where the film will be screened. So yeah, ritornatothemovie.com.
I'll put it in the episode notes and I'll share it out. When's that happening? In like 5 weeks?
May 8th, I think, is going to be the day we're going to premiere. That's my mother's birthday. So I want to present it on that day. And hopefully,
that's special, man.
Hopefully the fans know it's not an action movie. It's a really like a passionate, honest thing, personal moment in time. So, Douglas, it's like, time goes fast. You know what I mean? Time goes fast, and I'm having this experience with you, and it's really wonderful for me. I'm probably more grateful than you are, because it's really bringing. It makes me laugh. It makes me think about all this stuff, But getting back to Karate Kid, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, number one, if I was to return at any cost, who would you want me to fight against?
In the show? See, I honestly, your idea like trumped everything I had in my head. I think that'd be cool. Obviously, they could do a scene with like maybe Daniel sets up like on maybe like Mr. Miyagi's birthday, like a memorial or something. I think that'd be cool having everyone there to pay respects, because again, you don't know what happened at the end of the movie. Obviously, you saw your character turn. Right. So there could be something mentioned. Maybe it'd be, I think, how cool of a moment would that be? You have like you and Hilary Swank show up at the wherever it is, and like a look, and it's like, whoa,
that's it.
And then a hug or something, like an
that's
embrace.
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's all it has to be. It would be just that. It would be you look like I could see me looking at her, and I'm like, Pierce.
Yeah.
She turns around, you see me smile, and I hug her, and that's it, and that's the moment. People are like, oh my God, that's crazy. So that's what I get all the time. I'm fascinated what people say to me. Like, I had this one kid from Spain, beautiful, beautiful kid. And he wrote this long backstory of Ned. I said, this is the actual backstory of this guy. If they wrote this script, it's brilliant. You know what I mean? If they wrote what this kid, if they fulfill what this kid wrote as a backstory, it's incredible. So, you know what? They know I'm around because they know I exist for sure.
Yeah.
So, in or out, in it or not, it's Hillary and I are legendary. That's it.
Yeah.
We're together in time forever. So nobody can change that part of it. So that's wonderful. But it would be nice to maybe cap it off and have a smile and be nostalgic one more time.
Yeah. And then I would be totally down for a Showdown reunion.
Yeah.
That'd
Why don't
be
you set
cool.
that up? Why don't you set that up? Showdown 2. Come on.
Patrick, and I talked to Patrick because you've worked with him a couple times and you just know how he is. He's sitting in this room and he's just like
brooding.
Yes.
Yeah, he's I don't know if that's an actor or that's real. I really don't, because he's a little bit of I think it's real.
I know, because I asked him about working with Seagal and he was like, well, I got a book that I just wrote. And he's like, it's in the book. And I'm like,
yeah, and he sits in his little dark room, right?
yeah, exactly. And he's like, with his ring, he's like twirling his ring, talking to me. And he just like, no, but he was a super nice guy. He was one of those guys that I've interviewed that I talked to him because me and my buddy, right? Because there was a couple guys from our hometown that they graduated our parents that made it. One writes on The Simpsons, and now he's doing that Bill Burke cartoon on Netflix. So he was cool enough to like do a little sit down with us, and not like he's going to get it made, but give us like tips. And we're having fun with it while we're on lockdown anyway. So I have a wife and a daughter. It's not like I'm going to the bar or anything. So like
exactly.
Me and my buddy write over Zoom like once a week. But I mentioned that to Patrick and he changed. He was like, oh, so and he like felt like I was this insider. It was like so cool. He was like,
wanted a job. He wanted an audition. He said, I want a job. That's how actors are.
Yeah, but no, he teaches too. He has like a thing that he does with like actors. He helps people with scripts, like, so he has something like that going on. But so one thing you mentioned before, and I totally agree, especially when you sent your email back and it's like Grazie, I'm like, I really hope he's from the tri-state area. And this is nothing against anyone else, but it's so funny anywhere else in the country, if people have that like Italian American, it's so, do you understand what I'm saying? Like
sure.
In like LA, obviously there's people that are from Italy.
There's a certain sense, Doug, of New Yorkers.
Yes.
It's like, and the tri-state people that are, it's part of it. It's in this, in their gene pool, that, because most of, especially for the East Coast, because a lot of Sicilian, a lot of Southern Italians went to New York. Most of them went to New York. A lot went to Chicago. But there's a big community of not only Southern, but Italian immigrants that went to New York, and their descendants are there. And also New York is New York's tri-state area is the biggest, between New York, New Jersey, and whatever. It's huge. Philadelphia, they're a huge place to be. So yes, there's a certain taste of it. And it's really great, but it's also negative.
Oh no, that's what I was gonna say. That's where I was leading to. Like when you mentioned like The Sopranos, or for me personally, like you felt it. You were on The Sopranos, so you're like, this isn't the way. Really, like I knew a guy in my hometown that was part of the mafia in like New Jersey. He was nothing like that, and I'm saying all guys have to be like that. But it was like me when Jersey Shore came out. Me and all my friends went to Mexico, and we said we're from New Jersey, and the way they were like, "Wait, you're not like those guys," and I'm like, those guys aren't even from New Jersey.
No, they're embarrassing. It's an embarrassment to this Italian culture. It's embarrassed to me as an Italian, a Sicilian American, and I can't stand how they carry themselves. It's disgusting, and I'm not shy about it, as you can tell.
Yeah.
We have so many. I'm proud of my culture, my Sicilian culture. We have so many beautiful things and beautiful history that these kids don't even know anything about. And that's my thing when I talk to the younger generation. This is part of the reason why I did Ritornato, is because I wanted to inspire other kids to go back and tell a story about your grandfather. Tell a story about your family, good or bad. Keep your culture alive. Keep it real instead of letting it get watered down into this Italian American cesspool of what you think it might be. Because when you go to Italy, it's a different world. I shot a few films in Italy, and I won a lot of film festivals in Italy, and I spent a lot of time there. And you know, it's just a different world there. It's not like we here in America perceive it. It's different. So when I see that, or I see Real Housewives in New York or Jersey, I'm like, it's so bad. It's just such a. It gives the culture a bad name, and it's the same thing with stereotypical characters. Now listen, The Sopranos was a brilliant portrayal of a dysfunctional family that was Italian American. But the beauty of that was a dysfunctional family.
Yeah. And
then around it was the guys. But that was brilliantly told. But when you have guys walking around, you know, and hey, don't, it's like, you know, and then you get guys like, you see a TV show and you watch them and it's like, you are embarrassing, number one. Number two, you're bringing down the Italian American culture because you're actually allowing them to make you a buffoon.
Yeah.
Because now today, people are saying on a set, you can't say this about the Latin culture. You can't say this about this culture. You have to be this, you know. But why are you acting like a buffoon? It should be the same thing about the Italian culture. No, I'm not going to. You can't talk down to us. It should be equal. And this is what happened when people come to this country, you know, 60, 70 years ago, they came and they were respected because they worked hard. They built New York. They built San Francisco. They built the subway systems. They earned their way into this society with hard work, right? But what happens is time changes and they get immersed and the descendants get immersed and the kids get immersed and they lose sight of what their origins are and the traditions. And they get wrapped up in this pseudo Italian American world that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And it's really not good. It's not tasteful. And so I implore a lot of the young kids to do homework. Whenever we have a conversation, do homework. I don't care if you're from Latin America or Colombia, Italy. Where are you from? Where are your roots? Because your story is as important as my story. And we need to keep that alive. And so, yeah, I'm answering that question is that it is an embarrassment. And I've turned down many opportunities to do stuff that I didn't want to do. And I did a few things that I was embarrassed about, and that's why I stopped. Yeah. So that's why I chose now to just kind of focus on the things that mean something to me in a positive way, and try to bring out a different point of view of the Italian culture, the Sicilian culture. So that's my job. That's what I feel like I'm here for now, honestly.
Yeah. So 2 more questions. And this has been great, Michael. One is I meant to ask before. So the first time you went back to, you know, where your family's from, was there like a type of energy, or did you feel like home? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I remember leaving this fancy hotel in Taormina, which is like a resort town, maybe 45 minutes from where my Limita town, ancestral town was that I never had been to yet. But I said to my driver, I said, Vincenzo, I want to go to Lima. And he goes, Michele, why you go to Lima? And nobody goes to Lima. I said, I want to go. That's where my grandfather from. He goes, okay, we go. So we went and we drove, 45 minutes. Then we started to ascend up this winding dirt road. And I got to the sign Limina and I just lost it. Wow. Right? And I jumped out of the car and I ran up and I jumped up onto the cement pile and I put my hands up on the picture. And that's it. That's the moment. And it's exactly what you said, Doug, is like, wow. I felt this sense of belonging. I'm getting chills, actually, goosebumps. And I remember saying to myself, Grandpa, Mom, I made it for you. I made it back. So yes, I felt like that's where I should be. And that's who I am. And they've accepted me as part of their own. And they've rolled out the red carpet for me when I go. It's unbelievable that I feel like that I owe it to them. Like I'm so grateful to them that they allow me to be part of that. But they're like, no, we love you. You were the first one to come here and want to do something about us, about Sicily. And I'm blown away by it. And I go back. I went back for 11 years in a row.
Wow.
I plan to buy a property there, but obviously with the pandemic, I can't do it. But I'm working on my citizenship there, so I'm actually going to be getting some papers in the next 2 weeks. So I'm excited about it. So, yeah, I felt like you said, I felt like I belonged, and that my veins bleed Sicilian red, brother. I'm that's in my heart and my soul, really. So.
No, I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch that. No, when that'll be out, I'll definitely watch it, and I'll definitely put it in the notes. So another thing, I always like to ask people this question, because when I don't know if it's like Bruce Springsteen's like glory days, but like when you're in the greatest moment of your life, when you don't know that you're in it until you leave it, did you have like the wherewithal, like when you were in these early movies, or to like keep things like scripts and everything?
I don't have scripts, but what I do have, and I got to be honest with you, with the loss of my mom, right? It made me really think differently in life, because I have a video memory. Like, I remember every little specific detail. So every situation that's happened to me that I felt like you just said, like there was this defining moment, I remember so clearly, like a bell. I mean, like really clear, crystal clear. So I have remnants of certain things like posters and stuff, but
Cool.
the memory for me is so crystal clear. It's like this thing, like this video that plays in my head constantly. Like I don't have the bonsai tree that Mr. Miyagi gave me that died. There's a few things, the t-shirt I still have, a poster. But mostly the memories are really, really vivid for me.
Yeah, that's good.
And I can recall them on a moment's notice, as you can see.
Yeah. And one thing I just thought of, I interviewed this actress. Well, now she's a writer. She wrote like a few Netflix movies. Her name's Tiffany Paulson. Does that name her?
Sure.
She was because she auditioned for Hillary Swank's role.
I know her. I think I
like
actually
the
read
final. Oh, cool.
I think I read with her. There was like 3 or 4 girls.
Yeah, she said she made it down. There was another movie before that. I don't think it was Buffy, but another Hillary Swank movie. She was up for the role again, because I guess they had a similar look.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah.
Is she a gymnast or any sort? Was she a gymnast or some sort?
No, I don't think so. She was in Friday the 13th Part 8. That's why I interviewed her. And then
Part
in
8.
the conversation, she
Sequel.
mentioned that. I'm like, yeah, sequel. Yeah.
Sequel,
man,
Part 8. That's not a sequel. That's an 8 sequel.
That was the best one, because it was in Manhattan, but it was really
There you go.
in Vancouver, except like 5 minutes in Times Square.
That's crazy. No, I like I said, I met a few other girls that were there. I probably met Tiffany. If I did, Tiffany, hello. And you meet so many people. I was so nervous, I probably don't remember names. I was sweating half the time thinking, did I get this part? But that's great. That's fantastic.
You have a guy like Jerry Weintraub, I'd be sweating bullets knowing, what he did way before that point. He was working on movies in the 60s, 70s, like big time movies. So,
dude, he's legendary. I mean,
no, yeah.
He took us to, I never forget, we went to, on July 4th weekend, the whole cast, we went to Kennebunkport, Maine.
Wow.
Right? And we met the Bush family. He was very close to the Bush family, George Sr., because he was, I think Jerry at the time was a Republican, so he was a, donor and stuff. It was a trip. And, he knows so many people who come to the set. You're like, wow. And it's funny. I have a story. One of the guys, actually, RJ Lewis, who's a producer. RJ, I just touched base with him. He's at my friend's restaurant in California, and he's up in Agoura Hills. My friend's talking to him, this and that. And he's telling him, he goes, and he tells him, RJ saying, I worked on this. He goes, my friend's in that. He goes, no. And he goes, Michael, I love Michael. So I pulled out a picture of him and myself and his son when I was training for the bull ring. And I have it. I'm going to send it to him. I just pulled it out. Isn't that crazy? So those are some of the things that I have. It's incredible. So I'm actually going to call him. I haven't spoken to him yet, but wow. It's memories, man. Memories.
It's cool, man. And you'll keep making them. People keep finding this movie. It's cool that it had that second or third life, with,
I want to say, Douglas, thank you so much, because without you and the other guys, I really, really am grateful that you would take the time to speak with me. You made me have some nostalgic moments today, and I really appreciate it, because without you guys, I always say, where would I be? Well, who would I talk to? Who would bring me to all these people out there? So I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much. And you're like somebody I know for 30 years now. I feel like we're good friends. So stay in touch with me, please.
Oh, no, definitely, dude. And then maybe if the world's, the pandemic's done, November, maybe a parade. I think the Yankees are going to do it this year.
Listen, if I come back,
you'll
dude, see.
Definitely.
Where in Jersey are you?
I grew up in like central Jersey, which you understand that's a real thing, but other people don't believe it. But like right in the middle, right just before the shore hits, that's where I grew up. But now we're on the border. We're like 15 minutes from PA. It's so expensive now. Anything on the train line, everybody's leaving the city like for the last 15, 20 years, but it's just getting farther and farther. So we're at a point now that people are coming from the city, but good for us.
Wow. So how, like, what's the town you're in?
Clinton.
So I know Clinton.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Wait. No, Clifton. I know Clifton.
Oh, Clifton's up by New York. Yeah. No, Clinton's like off 78.
Yeah. I knew a girl from Clifton. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But listen, I wish you well. You're fantastic.
Yeah. And
I hope your daughter doesn't hate me.
No, she won't. She's only 2 now, so I'm not going to show her just yet.
She'll hate me in 10 years.
Yeah, when this movie comes out, I'll time it so this comes out like a week or 2 before, and then I'll do my best on social media, man. I appreciate it.
No, you're awesome. You're awesome, man. Just to spend the time with you, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm glad you like Showdown. Will you send me that picture?
Yeah, totally.
I don't have that picture.
I took it from the movie. I went on the movie and just screenshot it, but yeah.
Send it to me. It looks like Reservoir Dogs. It's hilarious.
That part's the best.
And if you talk to any other guys, tell them I said hello.
Oh, no, it'd be fun to reach out to those guys. But no, this is the best part, because this is when you guys beat the crap out of him, Matthew. Or he already said he wasn't going to talk to Christine Taylor anymore.
So this way, why don't you have try to get us on? We'll all do it together.
Oh, no, that'd be cool. I'll try that.
Did you ever, I did another movie. I don't know if you saw it, with Don the Dragon Wilson, another martial arts. You should watch.
I know his name. Yeah.
Yeah. Don has been in like, so many of these, small movies. So I played this character. It's hilarious, though. It's funny.
What's the name of that one?
It's called Soft Target.
See, I don't think that's on your IMDb, maybe.
Yeah, and also AKA Crooked. Look, I have some good scenes in there. Some really great scenes. It's fun.
Awesome, man. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you, brother. Ciao, ciao. Thank you for having me. Take care, bud. Bye.
Bye.
Meet me at the docks, McGowan.